Steve Harvey asked a simple Family Feud question to a 78-year-old grandmother, but her answer was so heartbreaking that it stopped the entire show. By the time she finished speaking, there wasn't a dry eye in the studio. It was Thursday, April 20th, 2023. During a regular Family Feud taping at the Atlanta studios, the Thompson family from Memphis, Tennessee, was competing against the Martinez family from San Antonio, Texas. Both families had brought incredible energy to the show, and the audience was thoroughly entertained by the spirited back-and-forth competition. The Thompson family was led by their beloved matriarch, 78-year-old Elellanar Thompson, a retired librarian who had raised 6 children and helped nurture 16 grandchildren. Elellanar had been hesitant to appear on the show, but her family had convinced her that it would be wonderful and that her wisdom and sharp wit would be perfect for Family Feud. What none of them knew was that Eleanor was carrying a secret that would soon touch the hearts of everyone in the studio. From the moment Elellanar Thompson walked onto the Family Feud stage, she captivated everyone present. At 78 years old, she moved gracefully but deliberately, wearing her finest Sunday dress and a radiant smile that could illuminate the entire room. Steve Harvey was immediately charmed by Eleanor's warm personality and quick sense of humor. During the introductions, she had made everyone laugh by telling Steve that she had been watching him since he wore those colorful suits, and that she was proud of how much he had grown as a host. "Mrs. Eleanor, you are absolutely delightful," Steve had said during the family introductions. "How many grandchildren do you have?" 16 biological grandchildren, Mr. Steve," Eleanor had replied with evident pride, "but I've probably helped raise about 35 neighborhood children over the years. When you're a librarian for 44 years, every child who walks through those doors becomes part of your heart." The audience had applauded her warmly, and Steve could sense that Eleanor was going to be truly special. The Thompson family had performed exceptionally well, with Eleanor contributing thoughtful answers and keeping everyone's morale high with her encouraging words to her family members. She had a remarkable ability to make everyone feel supported, even when they gave answers that weren't on the board. The game was tied going into the final round, and it was Eleanor's turn to play fast money. Her grandson Jerome had gone first and scored a solid 158 points, leaving Eleanor needing 42 points to win the $20,000 for her family. Steve walked over to Eleanor at the fast money podium, and she looked up at him with bright, perceptive eyes that held decades of life experience. "Mrs. Eleanor, your family needs 42 points to win $20,000, Steve announced. "Are you ready to bring it home for the Thompson family?" "I'm ready, Mr. Steve," Eleanor said with quiet determination. "Let's make this happen." Steve began the fast money questions, and Eleanor's answers were sharp and confident. "Name something people do to relax." "Read a book." Number 1 answer, 34 points. "Name a place people go on vacation." "The beach." Number 2 answer, 26 points. "Name something you might find in a grandmother's purse." "Peppermints," Eleanor had said with a knowing smile. Eleanor had accumulated 89 points, bringing the family total to 247, well over the 200 needed to win. The family was already celebrating, and the audience was cheering enthusiastically. But Steve had 2 more questions to ask, and it was the 4th question that would change everything. "Mrs. Eleanor," Steve said, "name something you do every day to show your family you love them." It seemed like a straightforward question, the kind of heartwarming topic that Family Feud specialized in. Steve expected an answer like cook for them, or give them hugs, or tell them I love them. But Eleanor Thompson paused for a longer moment than usual. Her smile softened, and Steve could see something profound happening in her expression. "Mrs. Eleanor," Steve prompted gently. Eleanor looked directly at Steve, then at her family members standing nearby, then out at the studio audience. "I pray for each of them by name every single night," she said quietly. "Even the ones who aren't here anymore." The studio fell completely silent. There was something in the way Eleanor had said, "even the ones who aren't here anymore," that carried a weight of loss and enduring love that everyone in the room could feel. Steve, sensing that there was much more to this answer than appeared on the surface, set down his cards and walked closer to Eleanor. "Mrs. Eleanor, when you say the ones who aren't here anymore, what do you mean?" Eleanor's eyes filled with tears, but her voice remained steady and strong. Mr. Steve, I've buried 4 of my children and 3 of my grandchildren in the past 12 years. But every night when I pray for my family, I still pray for them too, because love doesn't stop when someone goes to heaven. The studio audience gasped audibly. Several people in the family section began crying immediately. Steve Harvey, who had been hosting Family Feud for over a decade and thought he'd heard every possible family story, felt his throat tighten with emotion. "Mrs. Eleanor, I'm so deeply sorry for your losses," Steve said gently. "Would you be willing to tell us about them?" Eleanor nodded, tears now flowing freely down her cheeks, but her posture remained dignified. "My youngest son Benjamin died in Iraq in 2014. He was a corporal in the Marines, just 29 years old. My daughter Patricia died of ovarian cancer in 2017. She was only 43 and left behind 4 beautiful children." Eleanor paused to compose herself but continued with remarkable strength. "My son Christopher died in a motorcycle accident in 2019. He was coming home from his night shift and lost control on a wet road, and my oldest Thomas died of a heart attack in 2021, just 2 months after he retired." She took a deep breath. "3 of my grandbabies are gone too. Little Isaiah was born with a severe genetic condition and only lived 8 months. My grandson Marcus was killed by gun violence when he was just 14 years old. And my granddaughter Sophia died of leukemia when she was 10. The studio was completely silent except for the sound of people crying throughout the audience. Hardened television crew members who had worked on thousands of shows were wiping their eyes. The competing Martinez family was crying along with everyone else. Steve Harvey, a man who made his living with words, couldn't speak for several long moments. "Mrs. Eleanor," Steve finally managed, his voice thick with emotion, How do you keep going? How do you maintain that beautiful smile and that loving spirit after losing so much?" Eleanor Thompson looked at Steve with the kind of wisdom that only comes from surviving unimaginable loss and choosing love anyway. "Mr. Steve, I learned a long time ago that grief and gratitude can live in the same heart," she said. "Yes, I miss my babies every single day, but I still have 13 grandchildren who need their Grandma Eleanor. I still have 2 children who call me every morning. I still have a purpose." She paused, gathering her thoughts with the grace of someone who had learned to transform pain into wisdom. "And you know what? When I pray for Benjamin and Patricia and Christopher and Thomas and little Isaiah and Marcus and sweet Sophia every night, it keeps them alive in my heart. Love doesn't die when people die. It just changes shape." Steve Harvey did something unprecedented in his hosting career. He walked around the podium and embraced Eleanor Thompson right there on the Family Feud stage in front of all the cameras and the live audience. "Mrs. Eleanor, you are the strongest person I have ever met on this stage," Steve said, his voice breaking. "Your love is bigger than your loss, and that is the most beautiful thing I've ever witnessed." The studio audience erupted in the longest, most emotional standing ovation in Family Feud history. People weren't just clapping. They were sobbing and cheering and expressing a kind of raw, emotional response that television rarely captures. But the most beautiful moment came when the Martinez family, the family that the Thompson family had been competing against, walked over and surrounded Eleanor in a group embrace. "Mrs. Eleanor," said Sophia Martinez, the mother of the competing family, "you're not just the Thompson family's grandmother now. You're our grandmother too." The sight of 2 competing families united in love and support for one woman's courage was so powerful that the production crew had to stop filming for 15 minutes while everyone composed themselves. When Steve finally returned to the fast money questions, the entire atmosphere had transformed. This wasn't about winning or losing anymore. It was about witnessing something sacred. "Mrs. Eleanor," Steve said gently, "we still have one more question. But honestly, you've already won something more valuable than money. You've shown all of us what real strength looks like." Eleanor smiled through her tears. "Ask me your question, Mr. Steve. I'm ready." "Name something that makes a house feel like home," Steve said. Without hesitation, Eleanor answered, "The people who love each other inside it, whether they're still with you or watching from heaven." Steve looked at the board, knowing that Eleanor's beautiful answer probably wouldn't be there in those exact words. "Mrs. Eleanor, that answer is perfect, but let's see if it's on the board," Steve said. The answer revealed was family photos, worth 18 points. "Close enough," Steve said with a warm smile. "Family photos, family prayers, family love, it's all the same thing." Eleanor had completed Fast Money with a total of 182 points, giving the Thompson family 340 points total and the $20,000 prize. But Steve Harvey wasn't finished. As the Thompson family celebrated their victory, Steve made an announcement that surprised everyone. "Ladies and gentlemen, in all my years of hosting this show, I've never met anyone like Mrs. Elellanar Thompson. Her story reminds us that love is stronger than loss, and that family extends beyond blood to include everyone who shows up for each other." Steve paused, collecting his thoughts carefully. "Mrs. Elellanar, your family won $20,000 today, but you've given all of us something worth infinitely more. You've reminded us what real wealth looks like. It's measured in the love we give, and the prayers we say, and the way we keep people alive in our hearts." When the episode aired 7 weeks later, the response was immediate and overwhelming. The clip of Eleanor's emotional moment was shared over 150 million times across social media platforms within the first week. But more importantly, the video inspired thousands of people to share their own stories of loss and resilience. The hashtag #PrayForThemByName began trending as people shared memories of loved ones they had lost, but still included in their daily prayers. The Family Feud offices were flooded with letters from viewers who had been touched by Eleanor's story. Many were from people who had experienced similar losses and felt less alone after seeing Eleanor's courage. "Mrs. Eleanar helped me realize that I'm not foolish for still talking to my daughter who died in a car accident," wrote one viewer. "Watching Eleanar talk about her grandchildren made me understand that my twin boys who died at birth are still part of our family story," wrote another. 8 months later, Elellanar Thompson returned to Family Feud for a special Champions of the Heart episode. This time she was accompanied by all 13 of her surviving grandchildren who wanted to honor their grandmother on national television. When Eleanar walked onto the stage, she received another thunderous standing ovation from the studio audience. But this time, she was beaming brightly, surrounded by the living proof that love continues and families endure. "Mrs. Eleanar, how are you doing?" Steve asked during the introduction. "Mr. Steve, I'm blessed beyond measure," Eleanor replied. "That day we were here before, something miraculous happened. People from all over the world reached out to tell me about their own angels watching from heaven. I realized that my babies and I helped a lot of people feel less alone in their grief." Eleanor's appearance on Family Feud inspired the creation of the Eleanar Thompson Foundation for grieving families, which provides support groups and counseling services for people who have lost multiple family members. The foundation's motto, taken from Eleanor's own words, is, "Love doesn't die when people die. It just changes shape." Steve Harvey became the foundation's first major donor and serves on its advisory board. Eleanar Thompson's moment on Family Feud became more than just a viral video. It became a masterclass in how to survive unthinkable loss while maintaining love, hope, and purpose. Her simple answer about praying for family members, even the ones who aren't here anymore, opened a global conversation about grief, resilience, and the continuing bonds between the living and the departed. "Mrs. Eleanar taught me that strength isn't about not feeling pain," Steve said in a later interview. "Strength is about feeling all the pain and choosing love anyway." Today, Eleanar Thompson continues to be a source of wisdom and comfort for her surviving family members, and for the thousands of people around the world who were touched by her story. She still prays for her family by name every night, all of them, including those watching from heaven, and every morning she wakes up ready to love the people who are still with her as fully as possible. The Family Feud episode featuring Eleanar Thompson has been viewed over 250 million times across all platforms, making it one of the most watched game show moments in internet history. Eleanar Thompson went on Family Feud to help her family win $20,000. What she actually won was much more valuable. She showed millions of people that it's possible to carry great loss and great love at the same time. Her courage in sharing her deepest pain on national television created a community of people who no longer feel alone in their grief. Steve Harvey thought he was just asking routine Family Feud questions. Instead, he witnessed a demonstration of the kind of strength that can only come from choosing hope in the face of heartbreak. Tonight, somewhere in Memphis, Tennessee, 78-year-old Eleanar Thompson will kneel beside her bed and pray for her family by name. She'll pray for the 13 grandchildren who call her regularly. She'll pray for her 2 surviving children who check on her every day, and she'll pray for Benjamin and Patricia, and Christopher and Thomas and little Isaiah and Marcus and sweet Sophia, because love doesn't stop when someone goes to heaven, and prayers don't have expiration dates. The simple Family Feud question that Steve Harvey asked Eleanar Thompson lasted 30 seconds, but the wisdom she shared in response will last forever, reminding all of us that the strongest people aren't those who avoid loss. They're those who transform loss into love and use their pain to help heal others. If this incredible story of love, loss, and unbreakable strength moved your heart, make sure to subscribe and hit that thumbs up button. Share this video with someone who needs to be reminded that grief and gratitude can coexist, and that love really doesn't die. Have you ever experienced a loss that taught you something beautiful about love? Let us know in the comments.